In these problems, you're going to be tasked to find the length of the edge of a cone. So that is, we're given a cone, just like an ice cream cone, and we're asked to find how long this edge right there is. And the key to this is to realize that what we're really finding is just the hypotenuse of a right triangle. So you can imagine that part right there. I've just eliminated the rest of this cone so that all I'm left with is a right triangle. And from the diagram, I can see that this side of the right triangle is 11 units long, or 11 yards long in this case. And this is tricky. The 8-yard measurement in this refers to the diameter of the circle, the length all the way across. But in our right triangle, we're only interested in half of that length, what's called the radius, the distance from there to there. So if this whole thing is 8, half of that would be 4. So in my triangle, I have sides of 11, 4, and the hypotenuse, what we call C, I don't know. And so I can just set up a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A and b are interchangeable here. I'll call A 4. So I do 4 squared plus 11 squared is going to equal c squared. 4 squared is 16, 11 squared is 121. Add those together, and what I'm going to get is 137 for c squared. Now in order to find c, I take the square root, and since this is a distance, I know I can just ignore the negative answer that I'm going to get from this. So I can just take the square root of 137, which my trusty calculator assures me is 11.70 yards in this case. That makes sense because C should be the longest side of this triangle, and it's longer than either of these two sides. So the length of that slanted part of the cone would be 11.7 yards. Over here we're going to do the same thing. Just redraw that triangle. We know this part is 16 centimeters long. This part is 8. We don't have to cut that in half because this is the right distance that we're looking for. And it's still C that's a question mark. Pretend that's a question mark right there. So we set up a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm going to say that a is 8 and b is 16. 8 squared is 64. 16 squared, my calculator is about to tell me, which is 256. And add those together, and I get 320 is c squared. So now in order to find just c, I'm going to take the square root of both of those, and the square root of 320 is about 17.89 centimeters.